All right, what is the Bitcoin halving? Is the price going to go through the moon? Many people have said that this is a defining moment for Bitcoin as it happens every 4 years. And people are wondering, can I become a millionaire? Is it too late to invest in Bitcoin? What does all this mean? Well, we're going to talk about that now. So before I talk about the halving, why is Bitcoin in itself a revolutionary idea? Now, I want to make a comment or make a quote by a Peter van Valkenburgh. It was a speech at the hearing of the US committee, but he said something very revolutionary, or why he mentioned why he believes that Bitcoin is revolutionary. And I quote the word of Peter van Valkenburgh. He said that he was addressing the US Senate, and he said that what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is the world's, according to him, how he defined it, first cryptocurrency that works because of the world's first public blockchain network. So that Bitcoin is simple. It lets you send and receive value to and from anyone in the world using nothing more than a computer and an internet connection. What he said next, which I believe was very, very profound, the why it's revolutionary. He said it because unlike every other tool for sending money over the internet, it actually works without the need to trust a middleman. The lack of any cooperation in between means that Bitcoin is the world's first public digital payments infrastructure. And by public, he simply means available to all and not owned by a single entity. And I thought that was really, really powerful. It's revolutionary because everybody, or pretty much around the world, almost everyone owns a smartphone. Not everybody has a bank account, billions of people around the world, but I won't say everybody owns a smartphone, but relatively more people own a smartphone than have a bank account. And it's very, very unfortunate that you can live somewhere in a third world country, and just to send money from here to someone in a third world country, it will cost you almost half of what you're trying to send in fees, and Bitcoin makes that difference. So how does it work? Well, as I mentioned, it's a peer-to-peer payment system that lets you transfer money through the internet. It's very powerful. It's the Internet 2.0. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins ever mined. Now, mining is a very important process about Bitcoin, and we'll go into how this is important with regards to the Bitcoin halving. It allows the Bitcoin network the miners allow the Bitcoin network to be secure, and it also helps in validating transactions because it's a decentralized network not owned by a single entity. And every 4 years, there will be the fee or the mining reward, what you call the block reward, which what miners compete for, is cut in half. Historically, sometimes it's affected the price of Bitcoin, and the last halving, Bitcoin, I think people priced what the halving event was going to be into their entire mining process, so there wasn't so much of an effect. But what will happen in 2024? Well, we'll just mention that as we go along. So what really is the halving? When Bitcoin was created in January of 2009, the block reward was 50 Bitcoins. Now, what does that really mean by block reward? As mentioned, Bitcoin is a decentralized network. It's not owned by anybody. So as an incentive for nodes or for computers or for people to keep the network active, there is a reward for participating in the mining process. So what that means is when transactions occur on the Bitcoin network, different miners who are running computers with very, very fast processors have applications that run on those miners, and they go into a transaction pool of all the Bitcoin transactions, and they put all those transactions into a block. Now, each miner takes the block, tries to solve a very complex math problem, and the first miner to able to complete that complex math problem and add their block to the network with confirmed transactions receives not only do they receive the fees that's attached to all the transactions in that block, but also they receive a mining reward. And today, as of the time I'm recording this video, it's about 6.25 Bitcoins is what the block reward is. And if currently the price of Bitcoin as the time I'm recording is over $40,000, that's $240 what the miner receives each time they're able to do this successfully. And imagine how many it takes about 10 minutes to process a Bitcoin transactions. And if you do the math, that's a lot of money that you can gain if you are successful at mining. So that's what the halving is. Every 4 years, the probability of a miner being the one to add a transaction, a block to the blockchain it increases, it becomes more and more difficult so that nobody has a monopoly on the network, and also the fee is reduced. So it makes Bitcoin not inflationary like other currencies, but it allows Bitcoin to be deflationary and obviously have more value, which is very profound. So usually when the halving happens and the block reward is cut into half, it usually triggers or results in something happening in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Sometimes it affects the price. The last halving, there wasn't too much change, but this time around, people are hoping with everything that's going on with a couple of things going on around the world. One, very recently, a Bitcoin ETF was introduced, and a lot of people are participating in that space. And also 2024 is also an election year. And as you've seen, people or the candidates argue on different things, whether it's on healthcare, whether it's on the war in Ukraine, but they also have to take a stand against crypto. So that would be exciting to see what that does to the Bitcoin price. So what does this mean to me and you? Well, will it affect the price? What is most important, and I'll go back to something that Peter van Valkenburgh said about Bitcoin. He talked about the relationship between the Bitcoin today, also to the early adoption of the internet. He says that, and I quote what he says, so that it's a computer science breakthrough and to be as significant for freedom, prosperity, and human flourishing as the birth of the internet. Bitcoin is just the beginning. If we can replace private payments infrastructure, then we can replace other private choke points to human interactions as well. So he talks about the importance of building public infrastructure, and this is really going to be a game changer. The idea of sending money over the internet is not new, and I've said it so many times in subsequent videos. When the first internet browser was created, there was a protocol on that browser back to the Netscape navigator, because they saw a time will come that people will be able to transact value over the internet, and here we are today. So even though the halving events is happening, more than that, Bitcoin is a 15-year powerful experiment that is really going to change the world. And I'll leave you with the final thing, my final thoughts, which is that halving is going to be great, it's going to be exciting for Bitcoin, but more than the halving, the fact that it has come this far as an experiment in 15 years and it's still here. It's a distributed, decentralized protocol that allows me to send money or to do business with anybody anywhere around the world without the need of an intermediary, without the need of a bank. Banks close on weekends. BTCOIN is working 24/7, 365. And I'll leave you with some final words or something I heard a Mr. Andreas and Tobonopoulos say recently, who is the author of The Internet of Money, also a book called Mastering Bitcoin. And he says, and these are his exact words, he said a 14-year-old with a copy of his book can rebuild Bitcoin in a weekend in any programming language and launch it again and again and again with a new name until it succeeds. And I would say that if people try to destroy Bitcoin, that's what he was referencing, that someone can just take his book and rebuild the entire infrastructure or the application, the Bitcoin network, at least a node from scratch again. And if they try to destroy it, they can build it again because it's code. There's a Bitcoin is on a GitHub repository. You can download the code and someone can build it over again and again and again until it finally succeeds. The world is now connected and finance is now an application and money is a content type. Welcome to our new planet. And my words, as I always say, is that my wish for you is that you learn more about crypto, because crypto is changing and will change the world. And those who get involved early, in my personal opinion, will greatly impact the future. And if that's you, then let's go change the world.